You have reached year 3188.
Is there life here? Anywhere?
Hey, I'm alive. I matter. Welcome to my planet. Please take off your shoes. I notice that they're all burnt and crusty.
Multiple life signs detected.
Witty words, witty words, witty words. West Wing, Aaron Sorkin. I'm the president. Witty words, witty words, witty words.
You boys sure are my best friends. Oh, you're my best friend too, Mickey. Same to you, Donald.
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White. Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the restructuring news that you didn't know about. The coronavirus pandemic changed the way the entertainment industry works. TikTok is thriving, TV comps are on the outs, even a streaming service is dying after only a few months on the market. But just like pretty much every other company in the world, the industry is feeling the squeeze at the corporate level. As we speak, several organizations are in the process of laying off everyone or some of everyone. ViacomCBS has done so several times since the two companies remarried, kicked the adult kids out of the house, and turned the spare bedrooms into tantric sex caves. Swings, toys, you name it. There's a camera there and there and there. Of course, that's not to say there weren't problems before. Companies add and cut jobs all the time. In fact, the bigger its entertainment power, the more jobs lost. This is what's referred to as restructuring, and it happens in Hollywood a lot. Restructuring in a company involves making big changes, be it job cuts or new leadership, in order to make finances more feasible. In the end, operations are supposed to run better. Take WarnerMedia. AT&T's latest cash cow is apparently losing milk by the gallon, so it's opting to let a chunk of its staff go. Yes, during a pandemic, and yes, as streaming subscribers grow. As much as 20% of jobs will be cut. While we don't know the exact numbers or the dates the layoffs will occur, we do know two things. An untold thousands of people will be sent home, and all divisions of Warner from film and television will be affected. This, of course, comes after the launch of HBO Max, the successor to HBO, with added originals like Anna Kendrick doing something cutesy about dating and a return to softcore porn, I think. I'm getting real sexy vibes from this. I might have to sit down for a bit. For WarnerMedia, along with a lot of these entertainment entities, layoffs happen all the time. But the pandemic has caused a lot of companies to refocus efforts and trim what they're calling fat and what their staff call livelihoods. Now these cuts are happening more rapidly. Just in August, WarnerMedia laid off hundreds of people. Before that, we saw two major executives leave the company, both whose salaries could alone probably pay for the hundreds of staffers that were soon to be let go. Executives leaving after mergers isn't uncommon. However, this is a consolidation of jobs. Take, for instance, Viacom, which in 2017 consolidated certain networks under 3 executives before re-emerging with CBS. At the same time, it refocused its energy on its 6 most popular networks, tried and failed to launch a TRL reboot, and mostly succeeded with the rebrand of male-centric Spike TV to the now movie-fixated Paramount Network. That's all before finally wrapping up its executive problem at the top of this year. During the pandemic, the company has let go almost 700 jobs this year alone. ViacomCBS and WarnerMedia may look like complete turds for getting rid of all these jobs when people need them the most, but they're not the only ones. Disney, the happiest mouse on earth, I think their tagline is doing a bit of restructuring itself. Bob Chapek sat down with CNBC to explain the recent moves.
Well, what we want to do, Julia, is accelerate our transition to a real direct-to-consumer priority company. We believe that we've got the opportunity to build upon the success of Disney+, which by almost any measure has been far and above anybody's expectations, and really use this to catalyze our growth and increase shareholder wealth. What I can say is that in every territory, for every platform, our expectations have been exceeded and exceeded every month. So we're thrilled with the way it's going, and we just think that this reorganization is going to catalyze growth even further.
How much of this change and this reorg is really a response to what is happening because of COVID and what has changed over the past 6 months?
Yeah, I would not characterize it as a response to COVID. I might say that COVID accelerated the rate at which we made this transition, but this transition was going to happen anyway.
What message are you sending to your partners, to the cable distributors, and to the theaters about how much more important Disney Plus is than your relationships with them?
I think what it says is that we're putting the consumer first, Julia. The consumer is actually going to be who's going to make this decision. They're going to lead us with the way that they make their transactional decisions. And right now they're voting with their pocketbooks, and they're voting very heavily towards Disney Plus.
How committed are you to the theatrical release model, and how different are things going to be now that you've done this reorganization?
We want to make sure that, again, that we put the consumer first, and the consumer is going to be making the decision in terms of how they consume our media, as opposed to some arbitrary decision that we may make from a distribution standpoint.
Note that newly installed head of Disney said the focus is meant to be, quote, direct to consumer, which is a fancy way of saying we got to make this money back somehow. Disney's primary concern right now is to keep all floors of the Castle of Mouse paid for. It doesn't matter if they have to trim 28,000 pieces of fat to do so. Ironically enough, Chapek himself came from the parks division, so it's very odd he'd be ready to quickly drop his former employees. This is his first move as the new head of, after Robert Iger stepped down, then came back to help guide the company until things get square. And because it's Disney, stock prices jumped after the streaming focus announcement. Wall Street might be confident about streaming, but theaters will eventually come back. And even investors are hesitant, but they're always like that. At least mine were after I pitched some C+ Comedy branded condoms made of burlap, reusable, machine washable, and can double as a trick-or-treat bag for mice. Halloween's coming up, so you're welcome, Fievel Mouskowitz and Stuart Little. It was mentioned in that CNBC interview with Chapek that Disney will have executives whose jobs it will be to find a place for a movie or show by putting it in one of three categories: film, television, or digital. This seemingly puts everything under one roof at Disney. A movie made for theaters could shift to streaming, while a show meant for ESPN could also air on ABC. It's like Disney is so powerful that nothing matters anymore. Executives in charge of executing consolidations, cuts, and restructurings will time and again go to bat for the company in lieu of the people negatively affected by restructuring. Not to brag, but it's kind of their job. AT&T CFO John Stevens, like Chapek, explained that these moves for the company are what meant to streamline what they do, ultimately making it more, let's say it together, direct to consumer. Yes, this is all normal. And yes, with pay TV slowly dying, the focus on streaming was going to happen sooner or later. We just assumed it was going to be later. The pandemic accelerated everything, everywhere. The entertainment industry will never be the same again. But big companies and CEOs have to understand they have the money to support their workers during a time like this. That's doubly true if they made billions of dollars at the box office off of a bunch of white guys running around in tights. While WarnerMedia, ViacomCBS, and Disney make some of the best things in the industry, they're also the biggest culprits of screwing over their employees. And if this direct-to-consumer business is their bottom line, maybe it's time we vote with our wallets by not supporting them. And you know what? I'll be the first one. Oh, well, there's only $1 in here, so I couldn't do anything anyway. But listen, you know what you can do is subscribe and check out one of our other videos. It's just on the ground. Of course, you can head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where you can see interviews with your favorite comedians of all time, and also throw money at me, apparently. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at cpluscomedy. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionals podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You know what? I should actually pick that up because I'm going to need it for later, because Disney's not going to hire me now. I'm so sorry.